My name is Josette Hampton, and I'm a 29-year-old commercial airline pilot. I've spent my entire adult life chasing the sky, studying while everyone else partied, grinding through impossible hours, sacrificing birthdays, relationships, and sleep for the privilege of sitting in a cockpit at 41,000 feet. But nothing in my training, not turbulence, not emergency landings, not white-knuckle typhoons over the Pacific, prepared me for what I walked into when I finally came home. After 2 exhausting weeks flying international rotations across Asia, I landed back in Los Angeles just after sunrise. My uniform felt glued to my skin. My eyelids were burning. All I wanted in the world was a shower and the familiarity of my own bed. The one-bedroom apartment I worked years to afford. My sanctuary. My safe place. But when I unlocked my door, it wasn't my home anymore. I froze in the doorway, the smell hitting me before the sight did. Turpentine, oil paint, and something like wet cardboard left out in the rain. My living room looked like it had been swallowed by an art supply warehouse and spit back out in pieces. Canvases stacked along the walls, brushes floating in cloudy jars of water, open tubes of paint smeared across my coffee table, my $3,000 leather coffee table I saved 6 months for. My couch, my beautiful, soft, real leather couch, was shoved crookedly against the wall and dusted in dried acrylic splatters, like someone had flicked a rainbow at it with malicious intent. I blinked. Once, twice, a third time. Was I in the wrong apartment? Then I heard the sound, the faint shuffle of feet coming from my bedroom. My pulse spiked so fast my vision blurred. I dropped my bags and reached for my phone. A home invasion? A burglar? My hands were shaking so badly I almost fumbled the screen. I stepped deeper inside, only to watch my younger sister Olivia stroll out of my bedroom, wearing my bathrobe and sipping from my favorite mug as if she'd always lived here. She didn't even look startled. She didn't even look guilty. Instead, she smiled lazily. "Oh, hey Josie, you're back early." Josie, the nickname she used only when she wanted something. I stood there, still in full uniform, still fighting jet lag, sweat sticking to the inside of my collar. "Olivia?" I finally managed, my voice cracking. What are you doing here?" "Oh, Mom said you wouldn't be home until tomorrow." She shrugged, taking another sip from the mug she had no right to be touching. "You scared me. Thought you were the Instacart guy." Instacart guy, in my apartment, drinking from my mug, wearing my robe. She brushed past me casually, tracking flecks of dried paint across the hardwood floor. "Don't freak out. It's not a big deal. Mom and Dad said I could stay here while you were away." I blinked again, harder. "They what?" "Oh, yeah." Olivia said it like she was narrating a weather report. "They had copies of your keys made months ago. You travel all the time, so it's not like you're really using the place. And I needed space for my commission work. Your lighting is perfect for my art." I felt something in my chest snap. My parents copied my keys, gave them to Olivia, moved her into my home without telling me. It felt surreal, like someone else's nightmare I'd stumbled into. "You, move out. Now." I tried to keep my voice steady, but my hands were shaking. Olivia had the audacity to laugh. "Oh my God, Josie, don't be dramatic. I'll clean up in a few days. Besides, family helps family, right? You should be happy I chose your place." "My place?" The words came out strangled. "Olivia, you're trespassing. This is illegal." She rolled her eyes. "See, this is why Mom says you're too rigid." My heart hammered against my ribs. I pulled out my phone and began recording everything. The paint stains, the ruined couch, the destroyed floors. Olivia's face tightened. "What are you doing?" "Documenting damage," I said, "and the fact that you're staying here without permission." She scoffed and pulled out her own phone. "Fine, I'm calling Mom." "Perfect, I wanted answers too." When my mother picked up, Olivia hit speakerphone instantly. "Mom," she huffed, "Josie's being ridiculous. She's trying to kick me out." My mother's voice came through sharp and annoyed. "Josette, stop being selfish. You're hardly ever home. Your sister needs space to work, and your apartment is too big for one person." "Too big? I pay $2,500 a month for that too big space." My father chimed in from the background. "You travel 20 days a month. What does it matter? Olivia needed a place. Don't make this into a fight." I stared at the phone in disbelief, my throat dry. "So my apartment is, what, a family storage unit now? A free arts and crafts studio for your golden child?" "Watch your tone," my dad snapped. "We raised you. We're allowed to make decisions for the family." My vision went red. I hung up. I turned to Olivia. "You have 30 minutes to pack and get out." She slammed her mug down, splashing coffee across my table. "I can't believe you're doing this. I have deadlines. You're ruining my career." You're ruining my home." Her tantrum escalated, yelling, throwing things into bags, dragging canvases through door frames, and smearing more paint in the process. At one point, she knocked over an entire container of blue paint, splattering the hardwood like a crime scene. I just stood there, silent, watching the destruction of my sanctuary, the place I paid for with sweat, debt, and years of sacrifice. When she finally left, slamming the door so hard one of my frames fell off the wall, I exhaled shakily. It felt like the air had been punched out of my lungs. I surveyed the wreckage, my things rearranged, my drawers rifled through, my laptop used, my clothes worn. Strangers seen coming and going by neighbors. Every inch of my home had been invaded. Violation, that was the only word. I felt my phone buzz, texts flooding in, from family members I rarely spoke to. "Stop overreacting. You owe Olivia an apology. It's just an apartment. Family matters more than things." I closed my eyes, tried to breathe, failed. This wasn't about things. It was about respect, about boundaries, about the terrifying realization that my family had none when it came to me. I changed my locks that morning. Emergency locksmith, triple fee, and checked into a hotel because I couldn't stand sleeping in that contaminated space. And as I lay in the hotel bed, still in the same uniform I flew 14 hours in, staring at a ceiling that wasn't mine, I realized something chilling. My family truly believed I didn't deserve my own life. And if I didn't act now, they would do this again. I barely slept that first night in the hotel. My uniform was still crumpled on the armchair, and my overnight bag lay open like I had fled a burning house instead of a home. But that's what it felt like, a fire, except the flames were invisible and carried my parents' voices. I woke to my phone vibrating relentlessly. Another flood of messages. Aunt Noreen, your sister is heartbroken. Stop acting like a stranger. Uncle Pat, this is a family matter. Don't involve outsiders. Mom, you embarrassed your sister. Fix it. Fix it. As if I was the one who had broken something. I turned my screen face down and sat still for a long time. Long enough for the exhaustion from my 14-hour flight to mix with a rising fury that made my chest feel hollow. By noon, I was back in my apartment, phone in hand, documenting the damage properly. I hired a professional photographer, $300 out of pocket, just for evidence-quality images. Every angle, every stain, every splatter. The apartment looked worse in daylight. My leather couch was ruined beyond repair. My hardwood floor looked like a toddler painted a mural on it. Even my bedroom ceiling had paint somehow. It felt intentional, or at least recklessly careless. While the photographer worked, my phone buzzed again. This time, Daniel, my boyfriend. He'd been the quiet, steady presence through the whirlwind of my unpredictable flight schedule. He wasn't dramatic. He didn't guilt trip. He didn't take advantage. He was the opposite of my family. "Do you need me to come over?" he asked softly. "No," I whispered, my throat tight. I need to think." "You don't sound okay." "I'm not." A pause, then, "You know this isn't normal, right? What they did?" I let silence answer him. After the photographer left, I gathered my courage and went to the police station. At first, the officer treated it like a joke. "Your sister? In your apartment? Maybe talk it out." I pulled out the videos, the one where Olivia admitted she entered without permission, the one where she explained my parents had copied my key, the one where she laughed at me for being dramatic. The officer's face changed instantly. "Ms. Hampton, listen, this is breaking and entering." "And vandalism," I added quietly. He nodded, filed the report, entered everything into the system. It felt surreal, handing over evidence against my own sister, but I also felt something else, a small, trembling sense of relief. Finally, someone was taking this seriously. I didn't expect what happened next. The police went to Olivia's actual apartment the next morning. When she answered, she apparently tried to lie, claiming I'd given permission. That didn't last long. She broke down crying, called my parents, and in less than an hour, my parents were storming into the station demanding the police release her. When officers explained that they had no authority over my property, my dad's voice boomed through the lobby. "But we're her parents." The officers corrected him quickly. "Parenthood is not ownership. Not over me. Not over my apartment. Not over my life." Olivia was formally arrested. 6 hours in holding, a mugshot, charges, criminal trespassing, and vandalism. And suddenly my phone became a siren. My mother, Josette Mary Hampton, what have you done? My father, you've humiliated this family. A cousin I hadn't spoken to in years. You're disgusting. She's your baby sister. My grandmother, Josette, sweetheart, I don't understand. Why get the law involved? because they had left me no choice. But explaining that to people who believed Olivia was made of gold was like trying to speak through a hurricane. I checked back into my hotel that night, overwhelmed, drained, and unbearably alone. I stared at the ceiling and let the fatigue swallow me whole. The next morning, a call came, not from family, not from Daniel, but from my airline's legal division. Captain Hampton, well, soon to be captain, your situation has come to our attention. My stomach clenched. This was my worst fear, my personal life affecting my job. We take threats to our pilot's safety and stability seriously. We're here to support you. Support, not blame, not shame. The representative walked me through formal steps, civil options, protective measures, documentation. They insisted on assigning me one of their contracted attorneys. Her name was Jennifer Hale, a woman with a voice like steel wrapped in velvet. You're not overreacting, she told me right away. You're underreacting. Your parents knowingly enabled a crime. Your sister committed one. And your career requires a stable, secure home. Her words hit somewhere deep, somewhere that had always believed I was the problem. My parents' voices had taught me that. You're too sensitive. You're too rigid. You're too dramatic. You're too selfish. But Jennifer's voice was different. This is serious, she said, and we're going to treat it that way. I hung up the phone and sat still for several long minutes, hotel air filtering through vents, my heart beating quietly in my chest. I finally whispered aloud to no one. They really don't see anything wrong with what they did. And that truth hurt more than the paint stains, more than the splintered hardwood, more than the ruined couch. My family did not see me, not as an adult, not as a person, not as someone deserving of boundaries or privacy. To them, I was a resource, a convenience, the responsible child whose success meant she didn't get to own her own life. That night, I made the decision. Before I slept, I sent Jennifer all the evidence. I pressed charges officially. And for the first time in my life, I chose myself over their approval. The fallout came fast. Olivia stayed arrested. My parents exploded. The family group chats went nuclear. But me, sitting alone in that hotel room, wearing an old t-shirt and clutching a cup of takeout soup, I felt something I hadn't felt since childhood. Control. A fragile, flickering spark. But mine. I thought the worst was behind me once the charges were filed. I was wrong. The next 72 hours detonated like a landmine under my entire family. Jennifer, my airline-assigned attorney, moved faster than I imagined possible. Within hours, she'd assembled a legal packet thicker than Olivia's entire art portfolio. She had every photo, every recorded admission, every text message where my parents implied that my boundaries simply didn't count. It's not just trespassing, she said calmly during our late-night consultation. It's conspiracy, premeditation, and a pattern of boundary violations. When she said pattern, something cold crawled up my spine. What pattern? Jennifer flipped through her notes. Your previous landlord responded to our inquiry. He confirmed that someone used a duplicate key to enter your old apartment 2 years ago. My breath caught. I remembered the missing sweaters, the slightly moved furniture, the unsettling feeling that someone had been in my space. I thought I had been paranoid from overwork. But no, my parents had been sending Olivia to my home for years. 2 years' worth of violations I never knew about. Jennifer continued. This establishes long-term misconduct, which means we're expanding the civil suit. I swallowed, my voice thin. To what amount? $70,000, including damages, emotional distress, therapy costs, and punitive damages. I didn't say anything for a long time. I barely breathed. It wasn't about the money. It was about the truth. My family had been invading my life in ways I hadn't even realized. The family erupts. By the next morning, my parents had been served. My mother called first. I didn't answer. My father called next. I didn't answer. Then came the explosion. Voicemails filled with venom. Dad. Josette, what the hell is wrong with you? A lawsuit? Against your own family? Mom. You're destroying your sister's life over spilled paint. Do you even hear yourself? Aunt Marcy. You've always been too cold. This proves it. Cousin Brianna. Girl, you need therapy. Funny. Therapy was the one thing they were right about. But the real shock came that evening. A violent pounding on the hotel door. I froze, my heart thudding painfully against my ribs. Security had to escort my father out while he screamed at me from the hallway. You're not my daughter anymore. His voice ricocheted down the corridor. My knees nearly buckled. Even after he was gone, I could still hear him yelling, like the echo had burned itself into the walls, into my skin, into the hotel carpet. My grandfather's call. When my phone rang again later, I almost didn't pick up. but the caller ID said Grandpa Hale. My breath hitched. He rarely called anyone. I answered, Grandpa? His voice was quiet, steady, aged but unwavering. Josette, I've been reading the documents your parents received. I stiffened. Grandpa, I can explain. No, he cut in sharply. Don't you dare apologize. I stopped breathing. I watched your parents baby Olivia for 27 years while expecting you to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders, he said. I should have spoken up long ago. My throat tightened. He exhaled heavily. If your parents don't make this right, I'm removing them from my will. I shot upright in bed. Grandpa, no. This is not punishment, he said calmly. It's accountability. I felt tears sting the back of my eyes. They raised one child to be responsible, he continued, and another to be entitled. They failed both of you. My breath shook. I had never heard a member of my family say something like that. I'm proud of you, he said softly, for standing up for yourself. It's overdue. When the call ended, I stared at the blank TV screen, trying to steady my breathing. For the first time in years, someone in my family actually saw me. The artist falls. While my life was being dissected by lawyers, Olivia's world was collapsing too. But for once, the consequences belonged to her, not me. Her arrest went public. Clients Googled her. The mugshot popped up first. Her LinkedIn rant about being persecuted for creativity came next. One by one, contracts evaporated. A marketing firm handling government contracts terminated her instantly. A tourism company dropped her mid-project. Freelance inquiries dried up. My phone buzzed with a forwarded message. Olivia's group chat meltdown. Olivia, my life is ruined because Josette hates me. She always has. Another friend replied, Friend, girl, she didn't break into your apartment. Screenshots were everywhere. Olivia shut down her accounts within hours. But the damage was done. Therapy, truth, and the breakdown. I didn't see coming. My airline arranged a session with a therapist that same week. I went thinking I'd talk calmly, rationally, professionally. Instead, I broke. Years of pressure, manipulation, guilt, and minimization, all flooding out until I was sitting on the office couch, shaking uncontrollably. Your symptoms align with betrayal trauma, my therapist said gently. That's for relationships, I whispered, stunned. Romantic ones. She shook her head. It can be parental, sibling, and familial. Betrayal is betrayal. The body reacts the same. And suddenly everything made sense. Why I froze when my father yelled. Why I couldn't sleep in my own apartment. Why I kept questioning whether I was overreacting despite the evidence screaming otherwise. I wasn't weak. I wasn't dramatic. I wasn't selfish. I was traumatized. By the very people who should have protected me. The captain track. Through all of this, one part of my life remained steady. The cockpit. Airplanes didn't gaslight me. Checklists didn't scream at me. Altitude warnings didn't guilt-trip me about family loyalty. The sky was honest. My chief pilot called after hearing the details. Josette, I want you to know something, he said. You've handled this with remarkable discipline. We're accelerating your review for the captain upgrade. I blinked. Sir, that's reserved for senior and for pilots who demonstrate exceptional judgment under pressure, he said. You've done that. Promotion in the middle of chaos. The universe has a strange sense of timing, but it felt like confirmation. That I wasn't spiraling, that I wasn't losing control, that I was finally doing the right thing. The Civil War begins. Jennifer filed the lawsuit officially on Friday. By Saturday morning, my family group chats were in full meltdown. Someone had leaked the amount. $70,000. To them, it wasn't about justice. It wasn't about boundaries. It was betrayal. To me, it was reclaiming my life. Piece by painful piece, whether they understood or not. The trial date arrived faster than anyone expected, and yet every hour leading up to it felt stretched thin, like time itself was holding its breath, waiting for everything to shatter. For 3 weeks, I lived in a strange duality. By day, I was First Officer Josette Hampton, flying long-haul routes with absolute precision. By night, I was a daughter in exile, watching my family tear itself apart from a hotel room that had started to feel more like home than my actual apartment. The morning of the arraignment, I stood in front of the courthouse in a black blazer, my airline ID clipped inside my purse. My hands were steady, but my heart thudded dully, like it knew something irreversible was about to happen. Daniel showed up before I walked inside. He didn't try to hug me. He didn't tell me to breathe. He just stood beside me, solid and quiet, the way a good man does when the world is collapsing behind you. You ready? He asked. No, I said honestly, but I'm walking in anyway. And that had to be enough. Olivia's plea. The courtroom felt colder than it should have. Olivia sat between two public defenders, her face pale and puffy from crying. She wouldn't look at me. When the judge asked for her plea, she ignored the whispered advice of the attorney beside her and lifted her chin. Not guilty. A ripple crossed the courtroom, part shock, part murmured gossip, part disbelief. My stomach twisted. Jennifer leaned toward me. She's going to trial. That's bold. Bold wasn't the word. Self-destructive was closer. But Olivia had always believed the world would bend before she did. Our parents had taught her that. The judge set the trial date, and just like that, the war escalated. The civil suit detonates. If Olivia's criminal case was a fire, the civil lawsuit was gasoline. Jennifer filed the documents the same afternoon. Within 48 hours, my parents were served. And then the storm came. My father raged. My mother sobbed through emails dripping in emotional manipulation. A family doesn't sue each other. We sacrificed everything for you. You owe us respect. No mention of the keys. No mention of the trespassing. No mention of Olivia's destruction of my home. Just the same script I'd heard my whole life. Your pain doesn't matter unless it benefits us. When the amount became public, $50,000 against them, $8,000 plus damages against Olivia, the extended family fractured. Some said I was right. Some said I was cruel. Some stopped answering altogether. Only one person spoke truth consistently, Grandpa. He delivered the warning he'd promised. If they don't make this right, he told them bluntly, they're out of the will. My mother called me screaming that I was as turning her own father against her. I didn't answer, because deep down, she knew he wasn't doing it for me. He was doing it because he finally saw them clearly. The golden child begins to fall. 3 weeks before trial, Olivia's world began to collapse in earnest. Clients backed out. Her arrest record spread across design forums. A large marketing agency slapped her with a breach of contract notice. One night, she posted a dramatic, tear-streaked video online proclaiming herself a victim of sibling jealousy. Within hours, someone stitched it with screenshots of her admitting she entered my apartment without permission. The video went viral, but not the way she hoped. By morning, she deleted all her accounts. The golden glow around her name dimmed, and for the first time in her life, she saw what consequences felt like. The trial that changed everything. The criminal trial began on a rainy Monday. Water streaked down the courthouse windows like the sky itself was shaking its head. Olivia arrived looking small, her vibrant hair tied back, her expression hollow. My parents flanked her like human shields. They glared at me as I walked past, but said nothing. The prosecutor presented the case cleanly. Unauthorized entry. Damages exceeding $8,000. Recorded admission of guilt. Text messages confirming my parents knowingly made the key copies. Then came the defense. Their strategy? Make me look like a cold, absentee sister who implicitly allowed Olivia access because family shares space. Jennifer nearly laughed at the absurdity. She tore their argument apart with surgical precision. Sharing DNA is not sharing a lease, she said to the judge. Family is not a blank check to violate boundaries. When the video of Olivia saying, "Mom and Dad gave me the keys," played, my parents visibly flinched. The judge asked one question. Ms. Calloway, did you have explicit permission to enter your sister's home? Olivia hesitated, then whispered, no. It was over. The verdict came swiftly. Guilty of criminal trespass, guilty of vandalism. Sentence, 2 years probation, 200 hours community service, $8,000 restitution, no contact without my consent. But the punishment hit deeper than legalities. Her career was effectively over. The courtroom emptied, and she sat alone, staring at the floor as if the ground beneath her had finally started telling her the truth. The civil resolution. A month later, the civil suit settled. My parents agreed to pay $30,000 immediately, pay $20,000 over 12 months, sign a formal admission of wrongdoing, accept a no-contact agreement unless initiated by me. They had to take a home equity loan. My father postponed retirement. My mother withdrew from her church's community board out of embarrassment. The cost wasn't just financial. It was social, emotional, reputational. And for once, the price of their behavior fell on them instead of me. The promotion. 2 weeks later, my chief pilot called. Josette, he said warmly, it's official. You're being promoted to captain. My breath caught. Sir, already? Your performance under pressure has been exemplary. You demonstrated the judgment, clarity, and leadership we want in our captains. I hung up and let myself cry. Quiet, relieved tears I didn't know I'd been holding. After years of sacrifice, guilt, and pressure, I was finally receiving the life I had earned. The sky felt open again, reclaiming my home. When I moved back into my apartment, it no longer felt contaminated. It felt reborn. Fresh paint, new furniture, new locks, new security systems with remote access. I decorated intentionally, soft lighting, framed travel photos, an expensive coffee maker Daniel insisted I deserved. For the first time, my home reflected me, not a battleground for my family's entitlement. When I stood in the center of the living room, a peaceful stillness filled the space. This was mine, not borrowed, not invaded, not a gift they could hold over my head. Mine. The final break. I hadn't spoken to my parents or Olivia since the sentencing, but the day I unpacked my captain's uniform, the crisp navy jacket, the polished stripes, the weight of responsibility, I received an email. Subject, can we talk? From my mother. The body read, "We still love you. Please come to Christmas this year. Let's put this behind us." I didn't respond, because putting something behind you requires both sides to face it first. And they never did. I closed the laptop, looked around my quiet apartment, felt the steadiness in my chest. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. It took exactly 3 months for my life to settle into something that resembled peace, real peace, the kind that isn't dependent on someone else's mood, approval, or manipulation. The kind that sits quietly beside you, unbothered, unafraid. 3 months since the trial. 3 months since the civil settlement. 3 months since my family disintegrated, and I finally stepped out of the wreckage. People say time heals everything. That isn't true. Time only exposes what was already broken. But healing comes from choices. And I made mine. The trial aftermath. Consequences they never saw coming. Olivia's criminal sentencing had been merciful, all things considered. 2 years probation, 200 hours community service, $8,000 restitution. But the true consequences arrived slowly, like a tide that just kept rising. Her mugshot followed her everywhere online. Her art clients backed out one by one. A marketing firm sued her for breach of contract. Another demanded partial refunds. She lost approximately $15,000 in future work. Her reputation, once the golden child's untouchable sheen, collapsed. Eventually, she was forced to take a job at a local print shop. Minimum wage, no clientele, no prestige, no spotlight. The very spotlight my parents had always held up over her like she was destined for greatness. Funny how truth has a way of dimming artificial light. As for my parents, the settlement hit them harder than they ever expected. $50,000 gone. Savings drained. A home equity loan taken out. Retirement delayed. Reputation damaged in the community they worshipped. And the worst blow, my grandfather rewrote his will. He didn't just remove them, he redirected their entire portion to me and my cousins. My mother called him sobbing. He didn't budge. "You raise children who don't understand boundaries," he told her. "You're reaping what you sowed." That sentence traveled through the family like a chill wind. My parents' final attempts. They tried contacting me twice more. First, my birthday. A long email listing every sacrifice they ever made for me, as if love were an invoice to be collected, as if I owed them something for surviving childhood. I didn't reply. Second, an invitation for Christmas. "We're still a family. Come home." But home is not the place you were raised. It's the place you are respected. They couldn't offer that, not even now. So, again, I didn't reply. The silence was its own kind of closure. Rebuilding my sanctuary. My apartment has become my sanctuary again. Clean, soft, quiet. I replaced the ruined furniture with pieces that felt comforting, intentional. Warm lighting, new plants, frames of my favorite destinations: Tokyo, Reykjavik, Sydney. A smart lock system with remote monitoring. Security cameras my landlord approved. At night, I brew a cup of tea, sit on my new couch, and let my home be mine. No ghosts of paint stains, no echoes of yelling, no fear of unwanted footsteps in the dark. Just peace, real peace. The cockpit becomes my refuge again. Flying became different after everything. Lighter. I climbed into the left seat, the captain's seat, for the first time, hands steady on the controls, and felt something open inside my chest. The sky didn't care about my family. The sky didn't guilt-trip me. It didn't break into my home, scream in hotel hallways, or tell me I was selfish. It just held me up. I flew flawlessly through simulator checks, crew evaluations, and real flights. My airline praised my professionalism during the case and my resilience under pressure. 3 weeks ago, I received the assignment of my dreams. The London-Sydney ultra-long-haul route, a prestige run usually reserved for the most senior captains. The girl who once studied meteorology at 3 a.m. on a borrowed textbook is now flying some of the most challenging routes in the world. Sometimes life rewards the version of you that finally learns to stand up. The frequent flyer orphans. Something unexpected happened during all this. Other pilots reached out. Stories poured in. Siblings selling their cars while they were away on training. Ex-partners renting their apartments on Airbnb during rotations. Parents using their home for emergencies. Friends helping themselves to their things while they traveled. And from these shared stories, an informal circle formed. The frequent flyer orphans. Pilots with complicated families. Boundary issues. Estrangement. Loneliness. We started doing holidays together when flights allowed. Last Thanksgiving, 8 of us shared a potluck in a friend's apartment overlooking the city. It was the most peaceful holiday I've had in years. A chosen family, one that understood, one that didn't take the truth about what I lost and what I gained. People ask me if I regret pressing charges, if I regret the lawsuit, if I regret walking away. The truth? I regret none of it. Sometimes you have to lose the family you thought you had to realize they were never truly yours. What I gained was immeasurable. A home that is actually safe. A mind that can rest. A career that finally soared. A boyfriend who respects me, not uses me. A chosen family that doesn't break my things or my spirit. A backbone I didn't know I had. A future that is mine, uninvaded and whole. One evening, as I prepared for another long-haul flight, I said something out loud in my apartment. Something I never thought I'd feel. I'm okay now. And it was true. The final message I want to share. People love to say, blood is thicker than water. But that's not the full saying. The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. It means the relationships we choose are stronger than those we're simply born into. Respect is not optional. Boundaries are not cruelty. And family is not a free pass to violate your life. I didn't lose my family. I lost people who couldn't respect me. And in their place, I gained peace. I gained self-respect. I gained a life that finally feels like mine. Next week, I'll be flying the London-Sydney route, over oceans, through darkness, into dawn. When I land, my apartment will be exactly as I left it. Quiet, safe, mine. And in that small, simple truth, I found everything I ever deserved.